Hello, everybody. I have been reading Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer, and today I'll be starting chapter 6, which is titled Siege. Artemis leaned back in the study's leather swivel chair, smiling over steep fingers. Perfect. That little explosion should cure those fairies of their cavalier attitude. Plus, there was one less whaler in the world. Artemis Fowl did not like whalers. There was less objectionable ways to produce oil byproducts. The pinhole camera concealed in the locator had worked perfectly. With its high-resolution images, he picked out the fairy's telltale breath crystals. Artemis consulted the basement surveillance monitor. His captive was sitting on the cot now, head in hands. Artemis frowned. He hadn't expected the fairy to appear so human. Until now, they'd been merely his quarry, animals to be hunted. But now, seeing one like this, an obvious discomfort, well, it changed things. Artemis put the computer to sleep and crossed to the main doors. Time for a little chat with their guest. Just as his fingers alighted on the brass handles, the door flew open before him. Juliet appeared in the doorway, cheeks flushed from haste. "Artemis," she gasped. "Your mother, she—" Artemis felt a lead ball drop in his stomach. "Yes?" "Well, she says, Artemis, that you're—" "Yes, Juliet, for heaven's sake, what is it?" Juliet placed both hands over her mouth, composing herself. After several seconds, she parted spangled nails, speaking through her fingers. "It's your father, sir, Artemis Sr. Madame Fowl says he's come back." For a split second, Artemis could have sworn his heart had stopped. Father? Back? Was it possible? Of course he always believed his father was alive, but lately, since he hatched this fairy scheme, it was almost as if his father had shifted to the back of his mind. Artemis felt guilt churn in his stomach. He had given up his own father. "Did you see him, Juliet, with your own eyes?" The girl shook her head. "No, Artemis, sir. I just heard voices. In the bedroom. But she won't let me through the door. Not for anything. Not even with a hot drink." Artemis calculated. They had just returned barely an hour ago. His father could have slipped past Juliet. It was possible. Just possible. He glanced at his watch, synchronized with Greenwich Mean Time by constantly updated radio signals. 3 a.m. Time was ticking on. His entire plan depended on the fairies making their next move before daylight. Artemis started. He was doing it again, pushing family to one side. What was he becoming? His father was the priority here, not some money-making scheme. Juliet was still in the doorway, watching him with those enormous blue eyes. She was waiting for him to make a decision, as he always did, and for once there was indecision scrawled across his pale features. Well, he mumbled eventually. "I had better go up there immediately." Artemis brushed past the girl, taking the steps 2 at a time. His mother's room was 2 flights up, a converted attic space. He hesitated at the door. What would he say if his father miraculously returned? What would he do? It was ridiculous, dithering about it. Impossible to predict. He knocked lightly. "Mother?" No response, but he thought he heard a giggle and was instantly transported into the past. Initially, this room had been his parents' lounge. They would sit on the chaise lounge for hours, tittering like schoolchildren, feeding the pigeons or watching the ships sailing past on Dublin Sound. When Artemis Sr. had disappeared, Angeline Fowl had become more and more attached to the space, eventually refusing to leave it altogether. "Mother, are you all right?" Muffled voices from within. Conspiratorial whispers. "Mother, I'm coming in." "Wait a moment. Timmy, stop it, you beast. We have company." Timmy? Artemis' heart thumped like a snare drum in his chest. Timmy, her pet name for father. Timmy and Artie, the 2 men in her life. He could wait no longer. Artemis burst through the double doors. His first impression was of light. Mother had the lamps on. A good sign, surely. Artemis knew where his mother would be. He knew exactly where to look, but he couldn't. What if... "Yes, can we help you?" Artemis turned, his eyes still downcast. "It's me," his mother laughed, airy and carefree. "I can see it's you, Papa. Can't you even give your boy one night off? It's our honeymoon after all." Artemis knew then. It was just an escalation of her madness. Papa? Angeline thought Artemis was his own grandfather, dead over 10 years. He raised his gaze slowly. His mother was seated on the chaise lounge, resplendent in her own wedding dress, face clumsily coated with makeup, but that wasn't the worst of it. Beside her was a facsimile of his father, constructed from the morning suit he'd worn in that glorious day in Christ Church Cathedral 14 years ago. The clothes were padded with tissue, and atop the dress shirt was a stuffed pillowcase with lipstick features. It was almost funny. Artemis choked back a sob, his hopes vanishing like a summer rainbow. "What do you say, Papa?" said Angeline in a deep "What do you say, Papa?" said Angeline in a deep bass, nodding the pillow like a ventriloquist, manipulating her dummy. "One night off for your boy, eh?" Artemis nodded. What else could he do? "One night, then. Take tomorrow, too. Be happy." Angelina's face radiated honest joy. She sprang from the couch, embracing her unrecognized son. "Thank you, Papa, thank you." Artemis returned the embrace, though it felt like cheating. You're welcome, Angeline. Now I must be off. Business to attend to." His mother settled beside her imitation husband. "Yes, Papa, you go. Don't worry, we can keep ourselves amused." Artemis left. He didn't look back. There were things to be done, fairies to be extorted. He had no time for his mother's fantasy world. Captain Holly Short was holding her head in her hands, one hand to be precise. The other was scrabbling down the other side of her boot on the camera's blind side. In actuality, her head was crystal clear, but it would do no harm for the enemy to believe her still out of action. Perhaps they would underestimate her, and that would be the last mistake they ever made. Holly's fingers closed around the object that had been digging into her ankle. She knew immediately by its contours what was concealed here. The acorn. It must have slipped into her boot during all the commotion by the oak. This could be a vital development. All she needed was a small patch of earth, then her powers would be restored. Holly glanced surreptitiously around the cell. Fresh concrete by the looks of it, not a single crack or flaky corner, nowhere to bury her secret weapon. Holly stood tentatively, trying her legs out for stability. Not too bad, a little shaky around the knees, but otherwise sound enough. She crossed to the wall, pressing her cheek and palms against the smooth surface. The concrete was fresh, all right, very recent, still damp in patches. Obviously, her prison had been specially prepared. "Looking for something?" said a voice, a cold, heartless voice. Holly reared back from the wall. A human boy was standing not 2 feet from her, his eyes hidden behind mirror glasses. He had entered the room without a sound. Extraordinary. "Sit, please." Holly did not want to sit, please. What she wanted to do was to incapacitate this insolent pup with her elbow and use his miserable hide for leverage. Artemis could see it in her eyes, and it amused him. "Getting ideas, are we, Captain Short?" Holly bared her teeth. It was answer enough. "We are both fully aware of the rules here, Captain. This is my house. You must abide by my wishes. Your laws, not mine. Obviously, my wishes do not include bodily harm to myself or your attempting to leave this house." It hit Holly then. "How do you know your name, your rank?" Artemis smiled. There was no joy in it. "If you wear a name tag." Holly's hand unconsciously covered the silver tag on her suit. "But that's written in Gnomish. I know. I happen to be fluent, as is everyone in my network." Holly was silent for a moment, processing this momentous revelation. "Fowl," she said with feeling. "You have no idea what you've done. Bringing the worlds together like this can mean disaster for all." Artemis shrugged. "I am not concerned with us all, just myself, and believe me, I shall be perfectly fine. Now sit, please." Holly sat, never taking her hazel eyes from the diminutive monster before her. "So what is this plan, Fowl? Let me guess. World domination?" "Nothing so melodramatic," chuckled Artemis. "Just riches." "A thief," spat Holly. "You're just a thief." Annoyance flashed across Artemis's features, only to be replaced by a customary sardonic grin. "Yes, a thief if you like. Hardly just a thief, though. The world's first cross-species thief." Captain Short snorted. "First cross-species thief. My people have been stealing from us for millennia. Why do you think we live underground?" "True, but I will be first to successfully separate a fairy from its gold." "Gold? Gold? You human idiot. You don't honestly believe that crock of gold nonsense. Some things aren't true, you know." Holly threw back her head and laughed. Artemis checked his nails patiently, waiting for her to finish. When the gales finally subsided, he shook his index finger. "You were right to laugh, Captain Short. For a while there, I did not believe in all that under-the-rainbow crock-of-gold blarney. But now I know better. Now I know about the hostage fund." Holly struggled to keep her face under control. "The hostage fund?" "Of course now, Captain. Why bother with the charade? You told me about it yourself." I told you, stammered Holly. Ridiculous. Look at your arm. Holly rolled up her right sleeve. There was a small cotton pad taped to the vein. That's where we administer the sodium pentothal, commonly known as truth serum. You sang like a bird. Holly knew it was true. How else could he know? You're crazy. Artemis nodded indulgently. If I win, I'm a prodigy. If I'm losing, I'm crazy. That's the way history is written. Of course, there had been no sodium pentothal, just a harmless prick with a sterilized needle. Artemis did not risk causing brain damage to his meal ticket, nor could he afford to reveal the book as the source of his information. Better to let the hostage believe she betrayed her own people. It would lower her morale, making her more susceptible to his mind games. Still, the ruse disturbed him. It was undeniably cruel. How far was he prepared to go for this gold? He didn't know, and wouldn't until the time came. Holly slumped, momentarily defeated by this latest development. She had talked, revealed sacred secrets. Even if she did manage to escape, she would be banished to some freezing tunnel under the Arctic Circle. This isn't over, Fowl, she said at last. We have powers you can't possibly know about. It would take days to describe them all. The infuriating boy laughed again. How long do you think you've been here? Holly groaned. She knew it was coming. A few hours? Artemis shook his head. 3 days, he lied. We've had you on this drip for over 60 hours until you told us everything we needed to know. Even as his words came out, Artemis felt guilty. These mind games were having an obvious effect on Holly, destroying her from the inside out. Was there really a need for this? 3 days? You could have killed me. What kind of... And it was that speechless quality that sent the doubt shooting through Artemis's brain. The fairy thought him so evil she couldn't even find the words. Holly pulled herself together. Well then, Master Fowl, she spat, heavy on the contempt. If you know so much about us, then you know what happens when they locate me. Artemis nodded absently. Oh, I know. Yes, in fact, I'm counting on it. It was Holly's turn to grin. Oh, really? So tell me, boy, have you ever met a troll? For the first time, the human's confidence dropped a notch. No, never a troll. Holly showed more teeth. You will, Fowl, you will, and I hope I'm there to see it. The LEP had established a surface ops HQ at E1 Terra. Well, said Root, slapping a paramedic gremlin who was applying burn salve to his forehead, leave it. The magic will sort out soon enough. Well, what? Replied Foley. Don't give me any of your lip today, Foley, because today is not one of those, oh, I'm so impressed with the pony's technology days. Tell me what you found on the human. Foley scowled, securing his foil hat between curled horns. He flipped the top on a wafer-thin laptop. I hacked into Interpol. Not too difficult, I can tell you. They might as well put out a welcome mat. Root drummed his fingers on the conference table. Get on with it. Right, Fowl. 10 gigabyte file. In paper terms, it's half a library. The commander whistled. That's one busy human. Family, corrected Foley. The Fowls have been subverting justice for generations. Racketeering, smuggling, armed robbery, mostly corporate crime last century. So do we have a location? That was the easy part. Fowl Manor, on a 200-acre estate on the outskirts of Dublin. Fowl Manor is only about 20 clicks from our current location. Root chewed his bottom lip. Only 20? That means we can make it before first light. Yep, sort this whole mess out before it gets out of hand in the rays of the sun. The commander nodded. This was their first break. Fairies had not operated in natural light for centuries. Even when they lived above ground, they were essentially night creatures. The sun diluted their magic like a bleaching photograph. If they had to wait another day before sending in a strike force, who knew what damage Fowl could achieve? It was even possible that this whole affair was media-oriented, and by tomorrow evening, Captain Short's face would be on the cover of every publication on the planet. Root shuddered. That would spell the end of everything, unless the Mud People had learned to coexist with other species. And if human history had taught him any lessons, it was that humans couldn't get along with anyone, even themselves. Right. Everyone, lock and load. V-flight patterns. Establish a parameter inside the manor grounds. The retrieval squad roared military-type affirmations, coaxing as many metallic noises from their weapons as possible. Foley, round up the techies, follow up in the shuttle, and bring the big dishes. We'll shut down the entire estate and give ourselves a bit of breathing room. One thing, Commander, mused Foley. Yes, said Root impatiently. Why did this human tell us who he was? He must have known we could find him. Root shrugged. Maybe he's not as clever as he thinks he is. No, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it at all. I think he's one step ahead of us all the way, and this is no different. I don't have time for theorizing now, Foley. First light is approaching. One more thing, Commander. Is it important? Yes, I think it is. Well, Foley tapped a key in his laptop, scrolling through Artemis's vital statistics. This criminal mastermind, the one behind the elaborate scheme? Yes, what about him? Foley looked up, almost admiring look in his golden eyes. Well, he's only 12 years old, and that's young even for a human. Root snorted, jacking a new battery into his tri-barreled blaster. Too much TV. Thinks he's Sherlock Holmes. That's Professor Moriarty, corrected Foley. Holmes. Moriarty. They both looked the same, with the flesh scored off their skulls. And with that elegant parting response, Root followed his squad into the night air. The retrieval squad adopted the V-Goose formation with Root on point. They flew southwest, following the video feed emailed to their helmets. Foley had even marked Foul Manor with a red dot. Idiot-proof, he muttered into his mouthpiece, just loud enough for the commander to hear him. The centerpiece of the Fowl estate was a renowned lake medieval early modern castle built by Lord Hugh Fowl in the 15th century. The Fowls had held on to Fowl Manor over the years, surviving war, civil unrest, and several tax audits. Artemis did not intend to be the one to lose it. The estate was ringed by a 10-foot stone wall, complete with the original guard towers and walkways. The retrieval squad put down just inside the boundary and began an immediate scan for possible hostiles. 50 feet apart, instructed Root. Sweep the area. Check in every 60 seconds. Clear? Retrieval nodded. Of course it was clear. They were professionals. Lieutenant Cudgeon, Retrieval's squad leader, climbed a guard tower. You know what we should do, Julius? He and Root had been in the academy together, brought up in the same tunnel. Cudgeon was perhaps one of the 5 fairies who called Root by his first name. I know what you think we should do. We should blast the whole place. What a surprise. The cleanest way. 1 blue rinse and our losses are minimum. Blue rinse was a slang term for the devastating biological bomb used on rare occasions by the Force. The clever thing about a biobomb was that it destroyed only living tissue. The landscape was unchanged. That minimizes loss The minimal loss you're talking about happens to be one of my officers. Oh, yes, tutted Cudgeon. A female recon officer, the test case. Well, I don't think you'll have any problem justifying a tactical solution. Root's face took on that familiar purple hue. The best thing you can do right now is to stay out of my way, or else I may be forced to ram that blue wrench straight into that morass you call a brain. Cudgeon was unperturbed. Insulting me doesn't change the fact, Julius. You know what the book says. We cannot, under any circumstances, allow the lower elements to be compromised. 1 time stop is all you get. After that, the lieutenant didn't finish his statement. He didn't have to. I know what the book says, snapped Root. I just wish you weren't so gung-ho about it. I didn't know you better. I would say there was human blood in you. Oh, there's no call for that, pouted Cudgeon. I'm only doing my job. Point taken, conceded the commander. I'm sorry. You didn't often hear Root apologizing, but then it had been a deeply offensive insult. Butler was on monitors. Anything? Asked Artemis. Butler started. He hadn't heard the young master come in. No, nothing. Once or twice I thought I saw a flicker, but it turned out to be nothing. Nothing is nothing, commented Artemis cryptically. Use the new camera. Butler nodded. Only last month, Master Fowl had purchased an expensive camera over the internet. 2,000 frames a second, recently developed by Industrial Light and Magic for specialized nature shoots, hummingbird wings and such. It processed images faster than the human eye could. Artemis had it installed behind a cherub over the main entrance. Butler activated the joypad. Where? Try the avenue. I have a feeling visitors are on the way up. The manservant manipulated the toothpick-sized stick with his massive fingers. A line image sprang into life on the digital monitor. Nothing, muttered Butler. Quiet as the grave. Artemis pointed to the control deck. Freeze it. Butler nearly questioned the order. nearly. Instead, he held his tongue and pressed the pad. On screen, the cherry trees froze, blossoms trapped in midair. More importantly, a dozen or so black-clad figures suddenly appeared on the avenue. "What?" exclaimed Butler. "Where did they spring from?" "They're shielded," explained Artemis, "vibrating at high speed, too fast for the human eye to follow." "But not for the camera," nodded Butler. "Master Artemis, always 2 steps ahead. If only I could carry it around with me." "If only, but we have to do the next best thing." Artemis lifted a headset gingerly from the workbench. It was the remains of Holly's helmet. Obviously, trying to cram Butler's head into the original helmet would be like trying to fit a potato into a thimble. Only the visor and the control buttons were intact. Straps from a hard hat had been rigged to fit the manservant's cranium. The thing is equipped with several filters. It stands to reason that one of them is anti-shield. "Let's try it on, shall we?" Artemis placed the set over Butler's ears. "Obviously, with your eye span, there's going to be blind spots, but that shouldn't hamper you unduly. Now, run the camera." Butler set the camera rolling again, while Artemis slotted down one filter after another. "Now? No. Now? Everything's gone red. Ultraviolet. No fairies. Now? No. Polaroid, I think. Last one." Butler smiled. A shark that spotted a bear behind. "Got him!" Butler was seeing the world as it was, complete with LEP retrieval teams sweeping the avenue. Said Artemis. "Strobe variation, I would guess. Very high frequency." "I see," fibbed Butler. "Metaphorically or literally?" his employees smiled. "Exactly." Artemis shook himself. "More jokes. Next thing he'll be wearing clown shoes and turning cartwheels in the main hall." "Very well, Butler. Time for you to do what you do best. We appear to have intruders on the grounds." Butler stood. No further instructions were necessary. He tightened the hard hat straps briskly to the door, striding briskly to the door. "Oh, and Butler?" "Yes, Artemis." "I preferred scared to dead, if possible." Butler nodded. "If possible." And that will be the end of today's reading, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for further adventures. Bye. Have a great day.